Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. We're a congregation that believes in many spiritual sources to lead us in practices of justice and love. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your identity are welcome here. Children are welcome in the sanctuary at any time. There's also a preschool playroom and activities for children following the Time for All Ages. And everyone, please join us after service down in the Commons for refreshments and conversation. All are welcome. Wednesday evenings, you can join us for supper and conversation. This week is a special conversation from our building team discussing their recommendation that was sent out this week about the upcoming vote of the future of our building and grounds. They'll recommend that. They'll talk about that recommendation. We'll start with supper at 5:30, an open Q&A after that at 6:30, followed by a forum and presentation at 7 o'clock. So that's all this Wednesday night. You can also join the forum through Zoom. You can find that in your e-news as well. We hope you join us this Wednesday evening. All are welcome. And each month, our offering collection goes out the doors of our church to justice partners in our community. For January, we're collecting for the Rochester chapter of the NAACP, working for racial justice and empowerment in our community for historically marginalized people. You can give as the plates pass during the service or any time online. Thank you for your generosity. And today is a special Sunday. We've started a new tradition of offering a Unitarian Universalist pilgrimage for adults, in addition to the one we've had for youth for many years, to the roots of Unitarian Universalism in New England, especially in Gloucester, Boston, Cambridge, Concord, including Walden Pond. On a practical level, institutionally, we try to provide financial assistance to make it as accessible as possible. And in today's service, we hope to lift up the larger theme that it represents for all of us, those who travel there physically or not, about spiritual journey, to travel the terrain of spiritual ancestors, both in physical locations and in the journey of the heart, through their teachings, through their writings, no matter our distance in generations or in geography. So throughout the service, there'll be some images displayed and intermixed with some of the story as well from the places we visited, also music echoing the places we visited, and testimony from those who have traveled. If you're interested in the next pilgrimage, you can speak with any of us after the service as we strive to make it a possibility for anyone interested. And if you're looking for a way to explore your UU faith a little closer to Minnesota, we're offering a hybrid adult coming-of-age class, which explores Unitarian Universalism more deeply too, an online course with monthly facilitated discussions. So you can see our e-news about that or talk with Amy Nelson about that. That's coming up as well. The first in-person discussion is January 18th, so that's coming up soon. So if you're interested, we hope you can join. So I invite you to take a breath as we enter this time of worship together with these words from the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes, minister of this church in the 1870s. May our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together. In just a moment, the music will call us back, but I invite you to rise in body or spirit, give a brief hello to those around you, and wave to those online as well as we begin our worship together.
Our chalice lighting words are from the poem For Those Who Have Far to Travel by Jan Richardson. If you could see the journey whole, you might never undertake it, might never dare the first steps that propel you from the place you've known toward the place you know not. Call it one of the mercies of the road, that we see it only by stages as it opens before us, as it comes for our keeping, step by single step. There's nothing but to go, and by our going, take the vows the pilgrim takes, to be faithful to the next step, to rely on more than the map, to heed the signposts of intuition and dream, to follow the star that only you will recognize, to keep an open eye for the wonders that attend the path, to press on beyond distractions, beyond fatigue. There are vows that only you will know, the secret promises for your particular path, and the new ones that you will need to make when the road is revealed by turns you could not have foreseen. Keep them, break them, make them again. Each promise becomes part of the path. Each choice creates the road that will take you to the place where at last you will kneel to offer the gift most needed, the gift that only you can give, before turning to go home by another way.
One of my favorite parts of going on this pilgrimage was exploring Concord at night. Now, you have to understand, Concord is very small. We talk about it a lot as UUs, but it is not a very large community and pretty much shuts down at 9 o'clock. So when you go out walking, it's quiet, like crazy, eerily quiet. The kind of quiet we don't necessarily get if you live in Rochester proper. But what this reminded me of was going out inside in my backyard when I was a kid. And when you'd lay on the grass and you'd look up at and you'd see all the stars, like way back when you used to be able to do it if you lived in a community like this. And I would find such peace while I was there. And just being able to see thousands and thousands and thousands of stars and try to find the Big Dipper, or if I could find the North Star, or maybe I could find another constellation that I randomly had heard of in school. But what this pilgrimage reminded me of is that I don't need to go to Massachusetts. I might need to go out in the country a little bit here in Rochester, but I don't need to go far to see those same stars and experience that same peace. So today's story, which Anne is going to read, is going to explore that a little bit through the eyes of a bear.
So little ones, I'm going to stay here and read the story, but if you want to come up and sit down in front so you can see the pictures better, you are welcome to join us up front, and you can with Miss Amy. The story is Henry's Night, written by D.B. Johnson and Linda Mechelin, and illustrated by the author, D.B. Johnson. The story starts on July 12th, so a day not like today, a nice warm summer day. Okay. July 12th. I cannot sleep. The sounds of the village keep me awake. The evening train whistles, dogs bark, and from the room below, voices drift up to me. If only I could hear the song the night bird sings. I take my collecting jar and go down the stairs. The branches of my beech tree bend and pull me in. I sit up to my chin in night and listen for the bird. All I hear are berry pickers coming from the hills and the village bell tolling, bong. 9 o'clock. The night bird does not sing here. I slide down from the tree and leave the village. Now I walk on. The dirt road, crunch, crunch, crunch. The scuffing of my boots is loud, so I step into a field and listen for the night song. I hear nothing. The meadow twinkles with fireflies. They float around me, blinking on and off like shooting stars. I capture fireflies. They fill my jar with light. A bird swoops low to my lantern, and I ask, "Are you the one who sings the song of night?" Beep! "Not I," the nighthawk says, as it wings to the woods. I run after, spilling fireflies as I go. The village clock strikes 10. 10 o'clock already. I stride off into the woods towards the rising moon. I walk on and on. The moon grows brighter. There is no path. Far off, I hear a bird sing. Whippoorwill, whippoorwill, whippoorwill. There is the song of night. The bird calls me to follow. Uphill and down, I follow the night bird's song. Each time I get close, it stopped singing. Now I hear a pumper bird gulping water in the brook. Which way did the whippoorwill go, I ask. Wonka-chuck, wonka-chuck. It flew far from the village, the pumper bird tells me. So I fill my jar with water and hike deeper into the woods. The village clock strikes 12. When I hear the night bird again, it calls from far ahead. Then from behind, it leads me in circles. Now it sings from beyond the hill. I hurry to see the bird. Wait for me, whippoorwill. A tree root trips me. My jar rolls away into a swamp. I scoop up my jar from the muddy bottom to see tadpoles wiggling in the moonlight. All around me, frogs croak. Have you seen the whippoorwill, I ask. Thrunk, thrunk. No one ever sees that bird, a frog tells me. Very far away, the village clock strikes 2. Clouds erase the moon. Is that thunder I hear? Raindrops bounce from my hat, lightning flashes in my jar. I leap from grassy mound to grassy mound across the swamp. Rain falls hard now, but it will not stop me. Let it pour down. I will see the bird no one sees. Wind blows me uphill, brambles grab my hat, and rain soaks me. I cannot hear the bell in the village anymore. From a hemlock tree, an owl calls, who cooks for you? Owl, I ask, am I lost? The owl does not say, so I walk on. The rain stops. Here where the woods end, all is quiet. I stand on the shore of a mysterious lake. White fog spreads wide. It rolls from edge to edge of all I see. How will I get home? I make a raft of branches and push off into the mist. I bend down and scoop a feather into my jar. At my back, something flutters. Something sits on my head. Whippoorwill, whippoorwill, whippoorwill. It sings into my ear. The night bird has found me. I feel the beat of its bird heart. Past 2 islands I paddle, the raft, the fog, the bird's song, and I all are as light as the morning air. The bird leaves me. A bush poking above the fog snags my raft. Down through the leaves I tumble. Is this the beech tree in my yard? I slide down the branches to the ground. No one hears me go up the stairs. I lie in bed and wait for the noise of the morning train. Instead comes the call. Whippoorwill, whippoorwill, whippoorwill. The song of night. The notes flow across my jar and fill the day with the night bird's song. I sleep. We'll sing the children's benediction.
Turning the corner on a hot Boston afternoon while mapping my route, I found my way obstructed by dozens of people, all in matching maroon shirts, gathered around a tour guide. People craned their necks to take in the house they stopped in front of, cameras clicked, and a few in those matching shirts looked around the street in vain, trying to find a place to sit. I let out a short sigh, took a picture, a little selfie, to document my obstruction, and muttered under my breath about the nature of tourists. As I crossed to the opposite side of the street to try and get passed by this group, I listened to the guide share some of the exact same stories that I would be sharing at that location just a few hours hence, at which time my group would be the ones blocking the sidewalk, where some would try to find a place to sit, some would take pictures, and some would try to crane their necks to take in the entire house. Besides the lack of matching t-shirts, there was still one major difference between the two groups. Only one group was full of pilgrims. If religion is an ancient tradition, pilgrimage is among its most antiquated rituals. The first footfall on the path to sacred sites fell well before any history was recorded. And the faithful have been traveling those paths for millennia. And just like all streams that continue to run, some become entrenched in their beds, some split to follow new tracks, some dry up, and some spring to life. And so, along with pilgrimages to Mecca, Canterbury Cathedral, the Via Dolorosa, or the Bodh Gaya, we can place our pilgrimage to Walden, to the Old Manse, and to Elizabeth Peabody's bookstore. Each site gathers the history of its people and draws them to itself. Each site is an invitation to the sacred. And the sacred is not something nice. If you've been to Elizabeth Peabody's bookstore, you know it's not nice to look at anymore. It's not something warm and it's not something fuzzy. It is not something purely personal and it is not something completely communal. The sacred is an ingathering and a reorienting that removes us from our self-understanding only to give us back to ourselves. We find ourselves changed, sometimes imperceptibly, sometimes unambiguously, but always irrevocably. How can a place do this? How can a place shape us? It is because of the pilgrimage. Pilgrims go to sites of the sacred precisely because others have done so before them, with them, and will go after them. Individuals that travel roads and paths that others traveled, will travel, and are traveling tie their faith and their hope to that of other pilgrims. The pilgrimage is a bodily commitment to a communal experience that propels the pilgrim on. It is a reminder that others have found meaning and comfort and refuge in the premises embodied in those places. It is also a promise that we will carry the place of pilgrimage with us, that those premises and principles will continue to live in us, carried out into the world. So the site and the lives of those whose faith have led them to that site become a part of us and we them. We go to find our place in the highway of humanity and find a foothold in our faith. This is not to say that everyone carries the same message and the same things away from pilgrimage. Even though the path traversed is the same, the meaning found on pilgrimage remains personal and unique. My place is not your place. My belief is not your belief. My calling to pilgrimage is not your calling. And yet on pilgrimage, we find our place. We find our beliefs and our callings. The personal intertwines with the communal. Personal faiths combine to create the larger faith of fellowship. So we do not misunderstand. This is not an abstract faith in something wherein we can casually profess some belief in times of convenience. This is a concrete faith to keep moving, to keep living, to continue practicing principles, values, integrity, and even hope on the rockiest of roads. It is the personal faith bolstered by the fellowship. The gyre grows. Personal faith feeds into the larger fellowship, which calls forth a more expansive personal faith in ever-widening circles. For the faith that relies only on itself must invariably double back on itself and collapse. Everything I've spoken also applies to a weekly pilgrimage, that of going to church. For that, too, is a bodily commitment to the communal experience. It is also a site of intertwining subjectivities to find our collective sacred calling. At church, for a time, we undertake the same journey of song and word and ritual. Even though we might find a different meaning from that communal path, it is, however, the shared experience that orients us toward one another and lets us know we are not alone. It then sends us back to our lives a little more changed because for a few hours we have traveled a sacred road together. And still the road to pilgrimage can be even smaller. I stand from my couch, I walk to my bookshelf and pull down a book that I have read several times before to read it over again. I meet no one on this pilgrimage of a few steps and a few pages other than myself. This, however, is a worn path for me. Through scribblings in margins, I encounter past selves with new eyes as we take this pilgrimage, this journey together, holding space for future pilgrims to join the journey. I hear the call of the past me's to hold a space for the future, so our faiths can mingle and become something more than who I am now. So where is the path of your personal pilgrimage? Is it the woods? Is it along a shore? In the path of artistic creation? Or in a book? What space can you go to wherein you can find fellowship with yourself? Whether your journey is that of the daily, weekly, yearly, or once in a lifetime, approach it with the perspective of the pilgrim. Embody the commitment that calls forth the communal intertwining, and let the pilgrim's path give you to yourself a new place of home and a continual progression of faith.
Good morning. It's good to be with you. I invite you to settle in here as we create a place of communal caring and connection. It's our time to pause amidst the busyness of our lives, to slow down enough to consider the beauty that is here all around us, and to open a space for listening and love. Here, we honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Gerald Mitchell, serving as our caring coordinator, arranging care for our members and friends in need. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. And life can be challenging. We could all use some extra support with what life throws at us. And if you are experiencing those challenges in your life, we encourage you to reach out for support and help. If you need additional care, whether it be personal, pastoral care, or other assistance, please reach out to Reverend Luke or myself with that request. In this community, we share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because all people here have value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those who are experiencing sadness, illness, or loneliness. May the strength and love in our congregation help guide you. We revel in those who are experiencing joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all, and may their joy filter into all around them. May all of us find love, hope, joy, and healing strength in our community. We celebrate with Tiki Garcia this morning, who welcomed a baby girl to the world in July. Though the announcement is belated, we are sending Tiki and baby so much love and joy. We welcome her to the world. May this new life be a blessing. Here, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith is our focus. Let us carry that out into the wider world. May the faith in the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe deep the breath of life. Feel below you the earth and its ancient turning, above you the sky, and beyond that the stars shining with their ancient light, holding you in this moment, this breath. You yourself made of earth and stars, know that in this house you are named, you are known as beloved, as sacred. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life, source of love, God of 1,000 names and beyond all naming. Sometimes the hardest journey is the one within, those places in the heart or the soul that are hard to travel, rough terrain of loss or grief, cluttered paths of regret or relationships or fear. There can feel such a large distance between who we once were or who we still want to be and where we are right now. Help us to pay attention to the guideposts along the way, those harder to notice guides of intuition and dream, of love, or if we dare, even joy. Those things that catch the attention of our heart, that help us to go in the directions we may not have planned or have purposely avoided. The type of joy that does not neglect the rest of the world, but a joy that dwells deeply in all that is, that holds the beauty of the world not in spite of all other things, but because of them and the precious fragility of this life. In this sacred hour, we hold joy and sorrow, our own or others, some spoken, some silent. I invite you to bring the names you're holding in your own heart this day, in joy or sorrow, celebration or concern, and silently or aloud now in this time to speak their names. For all the joys, all the sorrows, the names, and those that are unnamed, may we all be held in love. These words of meditation come from Wendell Berry. And the world cannot be discovered by a journey of miles, no matter how long, but only by a spiritual journey, a journey of 1 inch, very arduous and humbling and joyful, by which we arrive at the ground at our feet and learn to be at home. May it be so, and amen. In gratitude, we'll receive the offering.
This is a reading from Walden by Henry David Thoreau. Sometimes, when I compare myself to other men, it seems as if I were more favored by the gods than they. Beyond any deserts that I am conscious of, as I had a warrant and surety at their hands which my fellows have not, and were especially guided and guarded. I do not flatter myself, but if it be possible, they flatter me. I have never felt lonesome or in the least oppressed by a sense of solitude, but once, and that was a few weeks after I came into the woods, when, for an hour, I doubted if the near neighborhood of man was not essential to a serene and healthy life. To be alone was something unpleasant, in the midst of a gentle rain, while these thoughts prevailed, I was suddenly sensible of such sweet and beneficent society in nature. In the very pattering of the drops, in every sound and sight around my house, an infinite and unaccountable friendliness all at once, like an atmosphere sustaining me, as made the fancied advantages of human neighborhood insignificant, and I have never thought of them since. Every little pine needle expanded and swelled with sympathy and befriended me. I was so distinctly made aware of the presence of something kindred to me, even in scenes which we are accustomed to call wild, that I thought no place could ever be strange to me again.
I'm not one to voluntarily give up sleep on any morning, but I am so glad that early that Saturday morning in Concord, I joined my fellow pilgrims on the Emerson-Thoreau ramble to Walden Pond. We strolled from our motel through a peaceful downtown Concord to the trailhead, which ambles 1.7 miles to Walden Pond. To be honest, I'm generally not one for contemplative walking. I consider labyrinths to be walking in a circle. I'm watching those steps accrue on my Fitbit. However, hiking through the wetlands, past ponds, and through thickets and woods, along a path trod by our transcendentalist ancestors, I was quite affected. The fact that I was accompanied by my fellow First UU pilgrims heightened the sacredness of this trek. I truly felt like a pilgrim. We had to cross a busy multi-lane road to get to Walden Pond, but once in the state park, all returned to quiet. It was still mid-morning when we reached the site where Thoreau's cabin stood originally, and we were the only ones there. I know the legacy that Thoreau's mom did his laundry, that he was only a couple miles out of town and visited Concord regularly, that it was only for 2 years, and that the train tracks were nearby and still are. That's all true. However, there is something about this site that transcends the discussions from our high school English classes. From Thoreau's journal dated December 24th, 1841, written several years before he moved to Walden, quote, I want to go soon and live away by the pond, where I shall hear only the wind whispering among the reeds. It will be success if I shall have left myself behind. But my friends ask, what will I do when I get there? Will it not be employment enough to watch the progress of the seasons? I have no idea how long we were at the cabin site. Time was just a notion at that point. Luke's and Derek's words were a sacred retelling of Thoreau's experiences and thoughts. And when Luke sang Simple Gifts, I'm pretty sure there wasn't a dry eye among us. I am not exaggerating that this was a transcendent part of the pilgrimage for me. My focus had been so intent that when we turned to leave, I had no idea that there were perhaps a dozen visitors who had been standing a respectful distance from us, no doubt listening to Luke and Derek and wanting to honor our experience while absorbing what was clearly a sacred moment. As we continued our walk circumnavigating the pond, I truly felt attached to the historical, cultural, and spiritual importance of this place. As I watched my fellow pilgrims on the shoreline fill small containers to bring home for our water communion, I was quite overwhelmed. It brought tears to my eyes recently as Luke anointed the children at our child dedication with water from Walden Pond, commingled with water offerings from other sites sacred to our collective lives. When Thoreau asked, "Will it not be employment enough to watch the progress of the seasons and to be successful in leaving myself behind?" The answer is a resounding yes. The hymn is Simple Gifts, number 16 in the Gray Hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit as you are able.
Pete is unable to be with us this morning. I'm Kim Reed, and I'll be sharing a reading from Summer in the Lakes by Margaret Fuller. We need only look on the miracle of every day to sate ourselves with the thought and admiration of every day. But how are our faculties sharpened to do it? Precisely by apprehending the infinite results of every day. Who sees the meaning of the flower uprooted in the plowed field? The plowman who does not look beyond its boundaries and does not raise his eyes from the ground? No, but the poet who sees that field in its relations with the universe and looks oftener to the sky than on the ground. Only the dreamer shall understand realities, though in truth his dreaming must not be out of proportion to his waking. Subject to the sudden revelations, the breaks in habitual existence caused by the aspect of death, the touch of love, the flood of music, I never lived, that I remember, what you call a common natural day. All of my days are touched by the supernatural, for I feel the pressure of hidden causes and the presence, sometimes the communion, of unseen powers. I acknowledge no limit set up by man's opinion as to the capacities of man. Only let it be a vigorous, not a partial or sickly aspiration. Let not the tree forget its root. So long as the child insists on knowing where its dead parent is, so long as bright eyes weep at mysterious pressures, I know of no inquiry that is forbidden to the resolution of man to pursue.
Good morning. I'm Roxanne Schlesner. I was on the journey with the pilgrimage to Boston. This month's theme is finding our own inner center. This includes to be referred as one's spirit, one's higher self, a soul, authentic self. A conclusion I have come to that is our own center, inner center, is a journey to our inner truth. The truth to live by at age 5 may or may not be the truth that's helpful at age 16 or 46. So truths change as we change. Not everyone will choose the same spiritual journey. By doing the pilgrimage to Boston, I learned about the UU heritage and their journeys. Like Thoreau's journey at the cabin at Walden Pond, he took time to write about his spiritual journey, and his words are truly inspiration to many. Yet, part of his journey was going to see his mom to do his laundry. And as parents of any college student knows that when a child brings home their laundry, it's more than just laundry. The path that has led me to be part of my inner truth is doing the adult coming-of-age class, attending chalice circles, doing the Principle 4 discussions, and taking time to write down my inspirational words. So today, I am going to share my statement of faith that I wrote in June 2022. I believe in nature and all its gifts, rhymes, and patterns. I am connected with nature, and nature is connected with me. I'm very comfortable with nature. I love how magical it is. Exploring all the many vibrations it has in its so many different forms, the colors, the touch, the smells, the sounds, the tastes, the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts, they're all part of the magic. Each vibration, when acknowledged, has a message. This is simple, but not always easy. As Eckhart Tolle says in his book, A Power of Now, watch any plant or animal, and it'll let you teach you acceptance of what is. Surrender to the now. Let it teach you being. Let it teach you integrity, which means to be one, to be yourself, to be real. This is easy, but not always simple, especially when you're watching adult Homo sapiens. I acknowledge that karma, destiny, and synchronicity have a special blend of patterns and rhymes that help determine the inner essence of the I am, which serves me as a compass. Figuring out who I am has been a lifelong journey. The mind with so many levels of consciousness, walking consciousness, deep sleep consciousness, restful consciousness, subconsciousness, and it has so many levels of vibration. At times, it seems to be in competition with each other than working together. Several ways I have learned to help connect to all these levels of consciousness is by meditation, prayer, and grounding and centering. That grounding and centering is a place of unconditional love. I love how Abraham Hicks describes unconditional love. Acknowledge that love, alignment, clarity, well-being, thriving, and worthiness is who I am. So who am I? The quest that keeps changing. Yes, I am a partner, a mother, a daughter, a granddaughter, a licensed practical nurse, a massage therapist, Reiki practitioner, healing touch practitioner. I also been defined by my body illnesses. I have mental illness, compulsive overeater, dyslexia, general anxiety disorder, arthritis, scoliosis. When I drop all these task titles, the task titles such as cook, maid, gardener, job titles, relationship titles, who am I? I am a soul who has lived many lifetimes. I'm a healer. What do I mean by a healer? I found that Abraham Hicks' works and definition of healer has helped me define me. As a healer, I do not focus on the illness. I focus on the condition and the vibrations. And when the vibration is the person who's receiving that, when I focus is unconditional, how it's going to turn out, then it just comes. The frame quoted in my treatment room reminds me of this type of a healer. If you bring forth that is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth that is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. This is from the Gospel of Thomas. This definition of health and healing does not match the current medical theology and practices today in this country, so I don't always fit in to modern medicine as a healer. As a healer, I have the ability to connect to the knowledge of vibrations around me, seen and unseen. My loved ones give me messages and knowledge frequently. I get visits from my grandmother's dad, side of the family. And according to a shaman I visit, she is my grandmother 10 generations ago. She likes checking on me because of my gifts. I also have a wise great-grandma, Alma, who cheers me on. My grandpa, who I love so dearly, called my twin soul. My soulmate checks on me frequently. I was informed by a psychic that I have deep connections to my past lives. My current life, I rely on the knowledge of a lifetime that I had as a male physician in France. I've come to recognize special vibrations of healing guides and entities. Archangel Michael and I have a very special relationship, one with humor and honesty. He likes to play with my ears. He likes to give me gifts of blue flashes. I've come to rely on his healing partners, Joy and Faith, who show up in my treatment room often. Archangel Raphael likes to give me flashes of green. His healing partner, Mother Mary, has the most genuine compassion energy that one can ever feel. Jesus pops in my treatment room occasionally. His warmth is helpful many times. My guiding angel, Cindy, does not usually come to the treatment room to help the person receiving the session, but focuses on me. I am blessed to find a community where I can explore my own truth and meaning without restrictions on which path to follow. Chalice circles have helped me listen to other voices, as well as my own, and learning to listen to the vibrational messages of nature without judgment, which helps me to find new vibrations in life. The Principle 4 discussion group has helped me find definitions and insights to spiritual words. Last June, our discussion word was reality. I love the definition I found. Reality is a temporary reflection on a habitual vibration that I do have the power to change if I choose to, but choose to focus in or on the condition that doesn't allow me to. The solution is to practice unconditional love. My favorite definition of love is still the King James Version of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 7, which says, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never dies. This is who I am, and I'm worthy of all these gifts. We'll continue with the hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us.
These words are from UU Minister Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.